Okay, let's start standing for a brief moment. All right, and I'm going to take a blanket with me to stand. All right, that's simple. We've done these before. I just like doing them because I think they're helpful. And I'm going to start facing front. So I'm just going to put my hands on my the iliac crest, the top part of the ilium, the hip bone, right hip bone, left hip bone. So 2 legs straight, just going to bend one knee. I'm just going to let one hip drop and straighten. And you might even notice, it's easy to tell by looking at the camera, but you can also sometimes just feel is one hip higher or the tissue above the bone denser on one side. And then bending the other knee, pelvis is going to drop towards that side. Straighten and bend first knee. Straighten, bend, straighten, first side again, bend, straighten, second side, bend, straighten. Good. And while we're here, I'm just going to do a little shift to the right, a little bit more weight on that right leg. And a little shift through center and over to the left leg. So I'm really kind of moving my pubic bone towards the left ankle, inner ankle. And then right. And center. And it's a small movement so that you can notice, oh, this side feels unfamiliar. Oh, this side feels more familiar. So we often favor one leg. And then finding center where you feel like your pubic bone, tailbone might be between the 2 feet. It's harder with flouncy pants, isn't it? Okay, and then we'll do the rotation first. So either hands on ribs or hands on pelvis. I'm going to turn the pelvis to the right, not the ribs, just the pelvis, center, and left. Center and right, center and left. Center one more time. And again, one side might feel more familiar and one side may take a little more effort. Last one, nice and easy, nice and smooth, not really pressing. Just feeling the quality of the movement. Good, and even noticing what happens in the rib cage as the pelvis moves. All right, one hand on sacrum, tailbone, other hand on lower belly, pubic bone. Good, little anterior tilt, so I'm tipping forward and tipping back. Little pelvic tuck. And I'm sticking the sitting bones back, pubic bone drops. And again. Again, notice which one feels more familiar, easy. Which one feels a little harder. Last one. And again, make it smooth and start to make it a little slower, smaller. And maybe a little tiny tip forward, back until you feel the place where it feels somewhat balanced. You don't feel like you're falling or efforting. And then let's play with a little forward shift towards toes. You get to even notice what toes are on the floor, or the little toes on the floor and the big toes off, or vice versa. And slowly back. And slowly forward. Do the toes squeeze? Do they press? And then slowly back. The toes get light. Do some toes get light? And then again, make it just smaller and smaller until it feels supportive. Right? That you don't feel like you're falling or pushing forward or leaning back. Okay, ribs. It's always hard for me to do without using the head. So I'm going to tip rib cage to the side. Center. Left ribs towards left hip or vice versa. But the head is somewhat neutral. Meaning that my eyes are still horizontal as opposed to doing a side bend. First side. And just noticing how much movement did you have on that side? How about this side? What feels easier or more familiar? And what feels a little more not a woven path or beaten path. Okay. And then ribs are going to turn, pelvis is not, head is not. So ribs turning right, center and left, and center and right, and center and left. Again, what side feels easier? Noticing what else is happening. I feel a lot of communication between the shoulders and the neck. Little down into the lower back, first side again. And smooth it out, less about how far, just how is it moving. Okay, one hand on front, one hand on back. Then I'm going to tip. So back ribs are going to lift. See if I can do it without the head. Front ribs are going to drop. And then the opposite. Front ribs lift. Back ribs drop. And tipping forward. And tipping back. And tipping forward. And tipping back. Good, one more. Forward, again, doesn't have to be as far. Maybe it's a little smaller. Tipping back. And then looking for the place where you feel like you can even use your hands to feel the tissue where you're not tightening the abdominals or the mid-back. Okay. Head, just tipping head right, center, left, center, nice and easy. Just noticing, you can even notice, right? What does the shorter side of the neck feel like or the longer side? First side again. And center. Second side. Last one, again, make it smooth. Doesn't even have to be your biggest movement. And slowly center. Okay, head turning right. Center and left. Center. You can even notice where your eyes land on the right wall as opposed to the left wall. Noticing that just a little grab on that left side. Good. Left side again. Good. Nice and easy. First side last time. Maybe even just a sense of lengthening up through the neck. And then left side. Good. And we didn't do it with the ribs or the pelvis because it's a little bit harder, right? So we can move the pelvis forward and back. But maybe just play with a little, letting the ribs go forward. Tiny bit back. Forward. For me, that's really easy. I do that all the time. Back is a little harder. Just notice what's happening in your body. And then finding the place where you feel like you're doing neither, right? Again, checking in with abdominals, chest, throat, mid-back, upper shoulders. And then head, right? Slightly forward with the face. And then back. Head back. And forward. And back. And this is a big one with screens, especially phones, screens, computers, phones, or just working. And then again, make it smaller and smaller so it feels like you're checking in with the neck, the throat, the jaw as you move forward. And as you move back, what feels most balanced or in relationship with the other parts of the body. Good. And one hand on heart, one hand on belly. Inhale slowly and fully. Exhale slowly and fully. And notice how the feet, right? Are you loaded on inner foot, outer foot? Just tracing back through some of those. Does your pelvis feel like it's forward towards the toes or back behind the heels? Do your ribs and pelvis feel in relationship? Pelvis, ribs, head. Two more breaths, long, slow inhale. Long, slow exhale. One more. And then let's use the last breath as a hum. So inhaling. And exhale with a hum. All right. Just dropping chin to chest and just slowly rolling head down, tops of shoulders, upper back, mid back, lower back. All the way down. Good. Maybe bend the knees for a moment. Let your ribs rest on your thighs and let your head hang. We don't get to do this very often, but letting the spine hang off of the pelvis and legs. And slowly, let's straighten one knee, keep one leg straight, or straighten one leg as you keep one knee bent. Bend both and then switch to the other leg, straightening, opposite knee bending. And bend both knees. First side again, one leg straightening, doesn't have to be all the way straight, just moving towards straight. And bend both knees and then switch. And then bend both knees and slowly, slowly round up. Ah. Okay, and then hands on hips. Let's do a little bit more of a flat back coming down. Just pause halfway. Good. And then rounding the back, bending the knees. Let's drop the hips and come onto the floor. Okay, blankie. So I'm just going to try to make this shape, right? So whatever kind of blanket you have. Yoga blankets are easy just because they have a uniform-ish shape. So it's wide, but not very deep. And then I'm going to lay on my back and I'm going to put my ribs on my blankie. So I'm actually going to walk my shoulder blades down onto the blanket and then maybe even push or keep the shoulder blades down, lift the hips a little bit and slide off. So the shoulder blades are almost being drawn down just a little bit. And then arms can be above the blankie. So even though my shoulder blades are being drawn down a little bit, I still want my back to widen. Right, that the shoulder blades are sliding on the ribs, but the ribs and the shoulder blades aren't, they're pretty tethered, but not completely tethered. There's quite a bit of movement in the shoulder blade, ideally. Good. And just notice how this is. Arms out to the side. Even having the head just that little bit behind the ribs. You might feel it in your front chest, your inner arm, back of neck. Okay, so let's take the feet just a little bit wider than hip distance apart and let's start our knee drops. So I'm going to drop knees slowly to the right. I'm going to let my head roll to the right as well. And then as slow, knees start to lift, eyes forward towards the pelvis, and you get that nice heavy roll across the right. From outer hip, back of hip, to the center of the pelvis. And then across to the left. So if you're one of us who tends to push the ribs forward, see if you can let the ribs stay pretty heavy on the blanket. It goes for everybody, but if you push your ribs forward, just notice that. So knees left, head rolls left. And then slowly, slowly back to center. And then tipping to the right. And slowly, slowly center. Again, ribs heavy, back of waist heavy, even if it's not on anything, the back waist, but the ribs should be able to make contact. And slowly left with the knees, left with the head. And then slowly lifting knees, thighs heavy, ribs heavy, waist heavy, back of neck heavy. And center. And a little different. So I'm going to keep the knees now steady. I'm going to take that left arm up to the ceiling. And then across towards that right arm. So there's a little bit of a roll from the center to the right side. Again, not pushing too much. And then I'm just going to slide that left arm along the right arm, right, along the upper arm to the shoulder, across the chest, across that left front shoulder, and extend that left arm out to the side. Good, let's do the other side. So right arm up to the ceiling. Good, and just pausing with that arm vertical for a moment and reach the arm up towards the ceiling so the shoulder blade comes off the floor. And then let the arm slide towards the floor, right? Almost like stick in the sand, right? You're letting the shoulder blade come back to the floor or to the blanket. And that upper arm bone sit back on that shoulder blade. And then one more time, reach up, reach for the ceiling. And then from there, take that arm across. Head is going to roll. Pelvis isn't going to roll yet. Reach towards that left arm. And then bend the right arm. Let the hand slide up that inner left arm, shoulder, across the chest. And out to the side. Good. Left arm up to the ceiling. Reach that arm up so the shoulder blade lifts off of the blanket. It almost kind of rocks you onto your right shoulder. And then sliding that arm straight down. Shoulder blade flat on the blanket or as flat as you can. Upper arm sitting back into that shoulder blade. And then lift up again towards the ceiling and take it across. And my knees are still pretty vertical, although my pelvis is just tipping onto that right side a little bit. Slide that left arm up along that right inner arm, across the chest, and out to the side. Good. Other arm, right arm up. Again, do that little reach. And just notice what happens as the ribs turn to the left, what happens in that left shoulder. And then let that right shoulder blade sit back on the ground. And then again, let the arm reach, the shoulder blade lift, the arm reach across. Head is going to roll. Ribs are going to roll. Pelvis is going to tip a little bit. Maybe you get a little further than the first time. Sliding up that inner arm, across the shoulder, chest, and out to the side. And just taking a breath or two, letting your inhale fall into those back ribs, right? As if you could touch the blanket, right? Let more weight come into the blanket with your inhale. Good. Left arm up. Again, reach for the ceiling, shoulder blade comes up, get that little tip to the right. And then shoulder blade comes down, you kind of rock back to center again. And then reach, that little tip, and then reach across again. And maybe there's a little more play for the ribs to move, pelvis can tip a little bit. And then sliding up that right arm. Across the chest, out to the side. Right arm up. Reach. Notice if the ribs drop back. And as you set the shoulder blade down, notice if the ribs want to push up. Can you keep the ribs heavy? And then reach for the ceiling, take that arm across. Again, your pelvis will tip a little, ribs will roll, head will roll, and then sliding up. And this is not an easy movement, so you might not get very much further each time. That's okay. Good, left arm up. Again, reach for the ceiling. Shoulder blade down onto the blanket. And then again, reach. So this time I'm going to let my legs tip as well. So as that left arm reaches across, my knees are going to tip, my head is going to roll. So I end up on that right outer shoulder, right outer hip, knees can settle to the floor, towards the floor. And then I'm going to let my knees stay on the right as my left hand slides up my right inner arm. The arm can bend as it goes across the chest and out to the side. Just pause for a moment and then slow roll. Ribs heavy, waist heavy, pelvis heavy. Good. And then right arm up to the ceiling, pelvis center, rib center, right arm reaches for the ceiling, picking that shoulder blade off the floor. And notice what happens in the chest, throat, neck, upper back. Shoulder blade back to the floor. And then reach across to that left side, left arm, left hand as the knees tip left. Slow roll the head, the ribs, the pelvis, letting the knees come towards the floor. You can even let that right hand move past the left hand. And then slide that right arm up that inner left arm. The knees stay tipped to the left as that right arm comes back out to the right. Heavy ribs, heavy neck, head, shoulders, waist, pelvis, and rocking back up to center. Okay. Left arm up. Reach up, shoulder blade down. Even squeeze the shoulder blade into the spine just a little. And then reach. And then reach across, let the knees tip. Pelvis tipping, waist, ribs, head, neck tipping. Left hand can even slide past that right hand. Good. And this time, let's slide that left arm around the head. So it can be on the floor, the hand can be off the floor. Your elbow can lift, maybe lead more from your elbow and less from your hand. As that left arm sweeps all the way around and out to the side. And then rolling onto your back. Heavy ribs, heavy waist, heavy pelvis. Other side, right arm up, reaching up. Shoulder blade away from the spine. Notice what happens in the left side, or chest, or throat, or neck. Shoulder blade back to the floor. Even squeeze the shoulder blade towards the spine, just a little. And then reach, and reach across. Knees tipping, pelvis rolling, ribs rolling, head rolling. Again, that right arm can slide past the left arm just to turn onto that outer left hip. And then let's take that right arm and again, take it overhead. Arm can be straight, it can be bent. Right, we're looking for a little bit of challenge, but you want to be able to breathe. Looking for ease. Not pushing, just exploring. Gently roll onto the back of the pelvis. Okay, left arm up to the ceiling. Last one, reach. Reach that arm up, shoulder blade off the blanket, and then shoulder blade back onto the blanket. And then reach across. Head, shoulders, waist, hips rolling. Good. And then this time I'm going to let that left knee slide on top of the right knee. And you get to choose either taking the hand, sliding it up the arm or around the head, whichever gave you the most kind of ease. Right, that we're not looking for a lot of sensation, we're looking for what feels good, what allows the system to soften and settle. Left arm all the way out to the left. Somewhat stacked. And then slide that left leg away from the right leg onto your back. Then right arm up to the ceiling, reach, shoulder blade reaches towards the hand. And then letting the shoulder blade pull back to the floor into the spine. And then up to the ceiling again and across. Knees tipping, head rolling as that arm reaches. And then sliding that right leg to the left leg. And again, you can either go slide up the left arm or take the arm around the head. Whatever feels most helpful and important. Bringing that right arm back out to the side. Good, and then right leg slides away from the left leg and roll onto your back. Good. And I'm just going to roll to the side and just slip the blanket out from under me and roll back onto your back. Good. And then let's take the blanket and slide it under the pelvis. Right, so I'm just going to lift my heels, lift my sitting bones, blanket under my body, under my pelvis. And just breathe. Let's actually take hands behind the head, interlace the fingers, and let your elbows go wide. So my thumbs are right at the base of my skull. And then I'm going to bring the elbows back towards the center line. I'm going to pick the head up and let my hands pull the base of the skull away from the tops of the shoulders, just tractioning that neck a little bit and tipping the chin to the chest. Right, lift the head enough so you can feel those lower ribs drop back to the floor. And then rock the top of the sacrum back, so a little posterior tilt. So there's a little bit of engagement from pubis to throat. And then keeping the pelvic tuck, slowly lower the head, keep tractioning the neck as you lower it. And elbows wide. Relax the pelvis. Good. Let's do it again. So elbows come in, closer to the head. Lifting the head slowly, drawing the head away from the feet. Getting that nice sense of length through the neck as you tip the head up. The chin down, the ribs down, the waist down, the top of the sacrum down, that little pelvic tip, posterior tilt. Again, just a simple engagement in the front body. And then again, slowly lower down. So it's a little bit more about how is it engaging, what's engaging, than how much. Head down, elbows wide. Relax the pelvis. Relax the back of the neck and throat. And then one more. Good, elbows in. Lift the head, draw the head away from the shoulders as you tip it up, as the ribs tip down. As you find that little posterior tilt. And even just noticing lower belly, around the navel, above the navel, below the ribs, front throat. And then slowly keep tractioning the neck as you lower the head down. Elbows wide. And relax the pelvis. Okay. Release the arms. Let's take hold of the right knee. Move the right knee into your chest. Good, holding shin or back of thigh. Good, upper arms heavy, shoulders heavy. And maybe just take a breath or two where you're actually trying to draw that leg closer to the body. You're actually trying to use your hip flexor. And then relax that and almost push into your hands as if you could re-extend the leg. Or let's bring the foot back to the floor. And then relax fully and just let the arms do the work. Good, and let's extend that left leg. It doesn't have to be all the way straight. Good. Let's just turn the toes in, turn the knee and toes in towards the center line. And then out, away from the center line. And in. And out. And then let's do just a little slide, some sliding. You can glide if you're on a sticky mat, you can hover glide, just a little side to side. So to the right and to the left. And to the right. And to the left. Pause and center for a moment. And let's bend that left knee, bring the right foot to the floor. Noticing right side, left side. Let's even extend the legs for a moment. For a cycle of breath. Good, and then bending the knees again, and let's take that left knee into the chest. So arms are heavy. We just did all of that really nice front body opening. Front torso, front chest. So connecting the arms to the shoulder blades, right? We often connect the arms more to the collarbones, especially if we work in front of us quite a bit. But let your upper arms drop into your shoulder blades. Right, if we think about the most lateral edge of your shoulder blade is where your shoulder joint is. It's not a very big bone to bone connection. Good, and just take a couple breaths, pulling that left knee towards your chest. Doesn't have to be strong, just the action. Good, and then pressing away from. Yeah. And then relax that left leg, relax the shoulders even more, especially the front shoulder. And then let's extend that right leg. And listening to your back, if straightening the leg all the way creates a lot of tension, then keep it slightly bent. Right? What feels most helpful? What feels most informative? Turning out and in, toes and knee in towards the center line, toes and knee out, away, in, and out, and then just a little slide out to the right, in and across to the left. Just noticing the difference this leg to the other leg. Notice what's extraneously working, tongue, throat, shoulders, abdominals. And then back to center. Good, and release the left leg, bend that right leg just for a moment, feeling the difference side to side. Let's actually extend the legs again. Good, and then bending knees. Good, arms out to the side. Let's do a couple of knee drops here. So I'm dropping knees to the right, this time letting the head counter turn to the left. Left arm close to that ear. Put a little weight into that left foot. And then rolling back across center. And other side. And slowly center. Good, and other side. Last one like this, center, other side. And center. Good, first side, just pausing over on that right side. Then I'm gonna slide that left leg towards the right leg. Good, looking left, just letting the head roll to the left. And take that left arm a little closer to the ear. Again, looking for what feels good, helpful, and looking right. Slowly center with the head. Slowly slide that left leg away from the right leg, pelvis center. Tipping left. Slide that right leg to the left leg, just stack it on top. Looking right. Slowly rolling the head left. And slowly right. And then sliding that right leg away from the left leg. And roll onto your back. And extending both legs. And then lift the knees, slide the blanket towards the knees, and then re-extend your legs. Just taking a couple breaths here, letting your body weight settle. What can find the ground just a little bit more intimately. What can soften back even more. Right, I feel places that are heavy and places that still feel light on the floor. Feel long inhale. And a long, slow exhale. Long inhale. And an even longer exhale. Last one. A little bit of movement in your fingers and toes, arms and legs. Bending, folding, and a little rolling. And draw yourself up to sit. And one hand on heart, one hand on belly. Inhale. Let's exhale with a hum. Yes.